It's Thursday, 11 a.m. Live Forever Young Radio live time. I am Raleigh. As always, I have Bob with me.
Cheers, everyone.
So today...
Happy Thursday.
Today is Thursday. It's almost the weekend, my
It's the
friend.
1st of June.
It's June 1st. The summer is here, right?
Summer's here. It's my brother's birthday.
Oh, happy birthday to
He
you.
would be 63 today. He is 63 today.
Very good.
My sister would be
Mm.
57, and she's a person who a long time ago got diabetes when she was 5 years old, type 1 diabetes.
Yes, you told me about her.
So she lived to be 31, which back then was actually a long time for someone to live.
With
Nowadays,
diabetes.
as you know, with your dad living a lot longer.
Yes,
Right?
thank God.
Praise the God. Praise the Lord. The point was my sister Amy was also born on June 1st.
I was just going to say, so they had the
4 years apart.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
That's a really accurate biological clock your mother had.
Yeah.
So
Very
that's
accurate.
crazy. So would you guys share the birthday? And I'm sure each child was upset because they couldn't have their own birthday party, right?
Not that I recall. There were 9 kids in my family, so there were a lot of things that nobody got individually.
Gotcha.
So
Lots of
everybody
things
was
were
used
shared.
to stuff. I was born on the 9th of August, and I had a sister born on the 8th of August and on the 14th of August.
Wow.
So there
Okay,
are 3
so
kids all in August.
I wasn't kidding. Your
Yeah.
mom was like a summer baby haver.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Okay. Wow. Well, that's
She had
cool.
a few others that were in the fall. So
Well, there you go. She's got to have a well-balanced childbearing schedule. Well, okay. I didn't realize you had 9 brothers and sisters, but the one thing you had mentioned about your sister who would have been 31 or who was 31 when she passed away,
yeah.
was with the diabetes, type 1. So type 1 and type 2 are a little different, right?
Yeah.
Type 1 is where you stop producing insulin altogether.
Yeah.
Right. That's what my dad has. He has type 1, where years ago, actually, when I was being born, my mom was in the hospital giving birth, and he had an episode, they didn't really know what it was, at the hospital, where his sugar got, way too high. Way too high. So they had to actually admit him and help him get his sugar level down. And that is when they were like, oh, you're diabetic. And I remember he said for like a year or so before that happened, he knew something was weird because he craved orange juice. He could not drink enough orange juice the entire, year and a half it was, or 2 years that it was really getting bad for him. And so he would just sit there and drink orange juice and his sugar would spike, and he was always feeling horrible, and he didn't understand why. And so then while my mom was in the hospital giving birth, it happened. And luckily he was around medical professionals who were like, get this guy in, figured out what it was. And ever since then, he's been taking insulin to help with that because he doesn't create his own insulin. So that's type 1, but type 2 is a little different, right, Bob? How's type 2 work, man?
Well, type 2 comes on usually much later in life. Now,
Mhm.
people can get type 1 when they're older, like your dad,
Mhm.
but a lot of it is childhood.
Right.
And then type 2 is really more of a metabolic disease where from poor diet, lack of exercise, that people end up getting type 2 diabetes later in life. And it's usually not as severe, but it can be very damaging and severe if you have it for a long time. So,
well, one of the things that I know
weight loss helps a lot with it.
Well, you read my mind.
Yeah.
One of the things that I know of that we've been talking a lot about lately, and we did a show about, is this new weight loss drug called Semaglutide.
Semaglutide.
We practiced that. I said
saw
it perfectly.
I saw a billboard on Route 19 the other day with a picture of a doctor, and it says Semaglutide is here.
Oh, wow. Okay, so they're
Come
taking
in for
out
your weight loss drug.
Wow, they're taking out full-fledged billboards for this thing.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of good things that they've been finding about it. So semaglutide basically works by mimicking a protein, and it helps to kind of make you feel full, right? Yeah. And so that's how that works. And we covered it. We did a show about that. So check it out. It was about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it was called Weight Loss, new weight loss drug. And it's on the playlist for our live shows. So check that out. So I won't go too far into how it works, but it basically helps make you feel full, right? So you eat less, so you're taking in less sugar, right? So it was originally made for diabetics, of course. And of course, diabetics were getting good results with the sugar control, as well as significant amounts of weight loss, almost like 14.9% of their total body weight people were losing. So then, of course, the drug companies, instead of calling it a side effect, hey, we've got this other drug. And so they made the Wegovy, which is actually more, it's basically the same thing, but it's a smaller dose, more for people specifically to lose weight that have obesity problem, right? It's not really for people who are just trying to lose a quick 10, 15 pounds for a wedding. It's really more for like people who have an ongoing problem with food and addiction and obesity. And that's kind of funny because we found a story, right, that says that not only is this semaglutide good for helping lose weight, but there's evidence that shows, pen, but there's evidence that shows it's really great at curbing addictions, right, Bob?
Yeah, and it started to get reported when some stories started coming out from patients that were talking about how they had less craving for alcohol.
Yes, we read a story about a woman who actually she was a smoker and she drank on occasion, but mainly she was a smoker. She switched to vaping, and this was during the pandemic, and she found that the vaping was even worse and more addictive than cigarettes. And so she had gained weight over the period of time during the pandemic, so much so that she was pre-diabetic. So they put her on the semaglutide, and of course it helped with the weight, right? But she noticed that one day she put her pen down for vaping and just didn't pick it up, right? And so a lot of patients that were using this were starting to report this. And so in the story that we found some information on how it kind of works, right? And so when we look this up, okay, so drugs like semaglutide are in a class known as GLP-1 analogs, and they can influence interest in things like alcohol because they have an effect not just in the gut, but in the brain. That's what it says here. And the doctor they were talking to, Dr. Leggio, says, we believe that at least one of the mechanisms of how these drugs reduce alcohol drinking is by reducing the rewarding effects of alcohol, such as those related to neurotransmitters in our brain, which we've talked a lot about, which is dopamine. So these medications are likely to make alcohol less rewarding, right? Because a lot of the times that's people, it feels like a reward to get drunk, right? Makes you feel better, quote unquote. And so that feeling of reward, that feeling of isn't as intense. So people lose interest in it, right?
Yeah, and what happens is people will still drink alcohol, but not excessively.
Mm-hmm.
So they might go out to dinner and have a glass of wine or one cocktail, but their old habit of having a beer before they start dinner and drinking a couple of glasses of wine with dinner and an after dinner drink, though, that is what goes away.
Mm-hmm.
But they still can enjoy having a small drink, when they're out and about or on occasion.
Right.
And that helps with their release of weight also.
Exactly.
Right. So this assistance with addictive behaviors has a positive benefit on your weight, which also has a positive benefit if you have diabetes. So,
correct.
That's what we're starting to see now is more and more people are using semaglutide. It's turning out to be a pretty good thing.
Oh, Bob, hold on one second, buddy.
Yeah.
For some reason, the webcam